not daring to look at me. Shin Yuchu. I cupped his face, making him look into my eyes, said seriously, "Will you be my girlfriend?" He bit his lip, his long eyelashes fluttering like butterfly wings. After a long while, he finally, in a voice as soft as a mosquito's hum, quietly murmured yes. I smiled. Like an idiot, I pulled him tightly into my arms, feeling like I owned the whole world. Having lived 2 lives, for the first time, I understood what it meant to feel my heart race, what happiness was. He mumbled in my arms, "You were so scary just now." Did I scare you? You can make a company go bankrupt with just 1 phone call. Ming-Yi, who exactly are you? I looked at his clear, innocent eyes, and knew I couldn't hide it from him anymore. I told you, I'm just a laid-back landowner. I flicked his nose. I just have a lot of land. I told him my story, selectively. Of course, I didn't mention the secret of being reborn. I only said that my father left me a huge inheritance. I used that money to make some investments, and earned a bit of money. Shin Yuchu blinked. A bit of money? Money that can make a company go bankrupt in 5 minutes. How much is a bit? I thought for a moment, and said in a way he could understand. It's probably your dessert shop. I could probably buy tens of thousands of your dessert shops. Shin Yuchu gasped. He counted on his fingers for a while, then looked at me in shock. You're a 100 billionaire. I nodded. He fell silent. My heart was a little uneasy. I was afraid that the huge gap in wealth between us would make him back away. I didn't expect him to be silent for so long. Suddenly he lifted his head and looked at me with a serious expression. Ningyi, listen carefully. From now on, your money is my money. My money is still my money. I was stunned for a moment, then burst into loud laughter. I picked him up and spun him around several times. Okay, whatever you say. My Yushinfang ancestral hall. He was dizzy from my spinning, could only rub my neck, letting out a silvery laugh. I knew I hadn't chosen the wrong person. What I love is Shin Yuchu himself, not the halo of the Fu family on him. After being with Shin Yuchu, my laid-back life became colorful and vibrant. We researched new desserts together, brewed new wines together. He would drag me to the morning market, to haggle over a single cent, arguing with the vendor until red in the face. I would also take him to eat at Michelin 3-star restaurants, letting him taste cuisines from around the world. He likes to touch my abs, says they feel great, like a washboard. I like to kiss his Adam's apple, watching his cheeks flush from the shiver. We were like all couples in love. Sweet nights. Lao Wu commented that he was about to die from the dog food every day. Boss, this is the acquisition case of Huangyu Group. Needs your signature. Put it there. I'll make a rock sugar pear for Yuchu first. Boss, this is the invitation to the European Royal Banquet. When Lao Wu mentioned President Xiao, he glanced at me cautiously. My hand paused for a moment. The name Xiao Wanqing. I haven't heard in a long time. I asked indifferently, what does he want from me? Old Wu explained. The Xiao Group has recently run into cash flow problems. They urgently need a large investment. They found out that Yifan Shunfeng is doing well, and want to seek cooperation. Yifan Shunfeng is the investment company I had Old Wu set up, and also a tiny corner of my vast business empire. But even this tiny corner, to the Xiao Group, is a behemoth they have to look up to. How the tables have turned. Back then, that aloof, iceberg CEO who said I wasn't worthy of him, now has to come begging me for investment. A playful smile curled at the corner of my mouth. I told him, if he wants to talk, he can come to my Imperial Kitchen in person. Imperial Kitchen is Yuchu's dessert shop. Old Wu looked bewildered. Tell him to bring his proposal, so I can see his sincerity. I can't wait to see. When Xiao Wanqing sees me together with Shin Yuchu, and sees that the trash he once looked down on the most has now become someone he must look up to. What a brilliant expression that will be. I'm really looking forward to it. When little Wanqing arrived, I was in the back kitchen making Shin Yuchu his favorite crab roe soup dumplings. I was wearing a white chef's coat, with an apron tied around me, and flour still on my hands. Shin Yuchu was like a little cat, hugging me from behind around my waist, his chin resting on my shoulder, sneaking bites of the crab roe I had just steamed, while giving me instructions. The pleats here aren't pretty. Come out. Oh dear. They're only showing, you idiot. This one barely passes. Your master, approve. I let him fool around. From time to time, I turn my head, kiss him on the cheek. The kitchen was filled with the aroma of food, and the sweet atmosphere between us. It was at that moment that Xiao Wanqing pushed the door open and walked in. She was wearing a black professional suit today. Her hair was still combed meticulously. Her face bore exhaustion and anxiety, but she still tried her best to maintain her icy CEO facade. When she saw the scene before her, she was completely frozen in shock. She probably never dreamed in her wildest imagination that the legendary, mysterious, and all-powerful boss behind Smooth Sailing would actually be the very person she had once looked down upon the most that useless waste. Moreover, what she never expected was that this waste was now wearing an apron in the back kitchen of a small dessert shop, cooking soup for a girl with his own hands, and that girl was hugging him intimately in a posture of staking her claim. Xiao Wanqing's face turned pale in an instant. In her usually calm and rational eyes were filled with shock and confusion, and a hint of discomposure she herself hadn't noticed. President Xiao, you're here? I seemed to only just notice her. Wiped my hands, untied the apron, gave a lukewarm greeting. Xin Yuchu, also from behind me, poked out her little head, gazing curiously at Xiao Wanqing, then whispered to me, Ningyi, who is she? She looks really fierce. A beggar. I smiled, pinched her nose. Xin Yuchu couldn't help but laugh. Xiao Wanqing's face instantly turned from white to green, then from green to red. A spectacular display. She clenched her fists. My nails dug deep into my palm. She squeezed out a few words through gritted teeth. Ningyi, don't go too far. Too far? I raised an eyebrow. President Xiao, if I remember correctly, you were the one who said we had nothing to do with each other. Now you come knocking on my door yourself. If you're not here to beg, then what are you here for? I pulled Xin Yuchu over to a table outside and sat down. I placed a steaming basket of soup dumplings in front of her. Try them fresh out of the steamer. Only then did I slowly turn my gaze to Xiao Wanqing. I made a gesture inviting her to sit. President Xiao, have a seat. Whatever it is, just say it. My attitude was casual and dismissive, like I was brushing off someone insignificant. This was nothing like the business negotiation she had imagined. No tension, no verbal sparring, only domination. Naked, all-round domination. Xiao Wanqing took a deep breath, forcing herself to calm down. She pulled out a chair and sat down across from me. She took a thick folder from her bag and slid it in front of me. Mr. Ning, this is the Xiao Corporation's development plan for the next 5 years, along with our current financing proposal. I hope. Stop. I raised my hand to cut her off. President Xiao, I think you've misunderstood something. What? Right now, you're the one begging me, not the other way around. I leaned back in my chair and said slowly, deliberately, I'm not interested in your plan. I only want to ask you one question. I pointed at Xin Yuchu beside me, then pointed at myself. Do you think she and I make a good match? Xiao Wanqing's body went rigid. She stared at me, then at the person next to me, taking small bites of the soup dumplings. Xin Yuchu, with a blissful expression on her face. Her lips moved slightly, but not a single word came out. A match? This question was like a sharp knife, stabbing viciously into her proud heart. The man before her was handsome and wealthy, with immense power and influence. Yet he was willing, for an ordinary girl, to cook and prepare soup with his own hands. The adoration in his eyes was a tenderness she had never seen before. And that girl, though simply dressed, had a pure smile, clear eyes, radiating a kind of happiness wrapped in being loved. They sat together, like a serene picture of a peaceful life, and herself, wearing an expensive suit, clutching a thick proposal, sat here like a clown, begging for a shred of this man's pity. Once upon a time, she had stood before her, using a condescending tone, to tell her to get out of her world, and now the tables had turned. Overwhelming irony and regret, like a tidal wave, engulfed her, her pride, her rationality at this moment, shattered into pieces. She struggled to speak, her voice hoarse, not sounding like her own. You make a good match. Is that so? Xiao Wanqing's face drained of its last trace of color. She knew I was humiliating her, using the very words she once said, returning them to her unchanged. Mingy, I admit, back then I was blind. She closed her eyes, as if using all her strength. I apologize to you, but business is business, and personal is personal. This cooperation with the Sioux Group is really important. I beg you. Beg me? I interrupted her. President Xiao, in what capacity are you begging me? As my ex-fiancé, or a defeated opponent? Shin Yuchu listened, completely confused. But she wisely didn't interrupt, only quietly added to my bowl a small steamed bun. Then, with her clear eyes, she silently supported me. This small gesture, yet caused Xiao Wanqing's defenses to completely collapse. She saw the kind of wordless understanding between us, the intimacy that was in our blood, something she would never obtain. She always thought she pursued the pinnacle of her career, supreme power, but only today did she realize that when she stood high above the masses, how empty and cold her heart was. She won the whole world, but lost the only person. Ningyi, she spoke again, her voice now choked with tears. Consider this my begging you. Okay, she cried. The one who was always aloof, cold as ice. Xiao Wanqing actually cried. Tears rolled down her delicate cheeks, dripping onto her proud proposal, spreading into a patch of water stain. I watched her quietly. No hint of pleasure in my heart, only indifference. In my previous life, I might have, because of, moved by her tears, I softened, but not anymore. I picked up that proposal. Without even looking at it, I tossed it directly into the trash can beside me. President Xiao, I stood up and looked down at her. Let me tell you one more thing. I have no interest in acquiring a company on the verge of bankruptcy, especially when the owner of that company is you. With that, I stopped looking at her, took Shin Yochu's hand, and turned to walk into the kitchen. Behind me came the sound of Xiao Wanqing's uncontrollable, heartbroken sobs. I knew that from today onward, this woman's pride had been crushed by my own hands, and this was only the beginning. Xiao Wanqing left, utterly devastated. I didn't pay any more attention to what happened to her, because an even more disgusting person showed up at my door. Li Lan, my biological mother. She had somehow found out about Shin Yochu's dessert shop.
Follow, like, comment, and share for part 5.